Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into a system that really promises to transform how you learn, think, and produce knowledge, especially written stuff. The Zettelkasten Method. Imagine cutting through all that information overload, not just managing it, but truly internalizing it, making it yours. That's kind of our mission today, to figure out how this method can be a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed without feeling completely swamped.
Yeah, what's really striking about the Zettelkasten, I think, is how it moves beyond just like collecting articles or highlighting books. It's not passive at all. It's about building this dynamic system that basically forces you to actively engage with new material. So it's not just storing info, it's about making it deeply, truly your own. And that's how you increase your actual knowledge, right? You shift from being a consumer to, well, an active creator of insights.
That is a powerful promise. Okay, so let's unpack this. Our goal for this deep dive is to really understand what the Zettelkasten method is, how it works as a whole system, a living system even, and critically, how it helps you weave this constantly evolving web of knowledge that literally extends your thinking. Our sources today are pretty rich. They give us an introduction, tackle common questions, look at the core principles, and show some really practical applications in knowledge management, writing, and even reading. So when we talk about the Zettelkasten method, what are we really talking about? What's the core definition? At its heart, it seems like a meticulously designed system for optimizing how you learn and mainly streamlining how you produce texts. Picture this. What if you had a system that genuinely extends your mind and memory? Not just like a filing cabinet, but a dynamic engine for connecting ideas, generating new ones.
Exactly. And the fundamental parts that make it work are actually quite simple, quite elegant. You start with an inbox. Think of it as a temporary spot for quick thoughts, things you capture on the fly. Then you have your note archive. That's the real core, the growing web of knowledge. And finally, you need a reference manager to keep track of all your sources. Importantly, the archive, the main note collection, is usually meant to be a single lifelong Zettelkasten. Now, our sources do mention exceptions, but the ideal is this one continuous evolving network of your thoughts.
Right, and that's where the real value comes in, isn't it? It's not about digital hoarding. I think we all have folders full of stuff we never look at again. The power here comes from intentionally making connections, building this vibrant network of ideas, moving way beyond just collecting facts in isolation. It turns those isolated facts into, well, integrated insights.
hmm And if we zoom out a bit, the way this network actually forms, it all hinges on its core principles. Let's start with the principle of atomicity. Think of each note like a single Lego brick. It's self-contained, deals with just one idea, and gets a unique ID. Its content is strictly limited to that one topic. This ensures clarity, and it makes the notes reusable, modular.
Okay, so you have these atomic bricks, but a pile of bricks isn't very useful, right? You need to connect them. That brings us to the principle of connectivity. Just being able to search your notes isn't really enough, though it's helpful.
Right. The real strength of the Zettelkasten comes from deliberately setting links between your notes. Explicit links. That's how you literally build that interconnected web of knowledge. It lets ideas flow and bump into each other in interesting ways. Now, a common question people have when they start is, what should my very first note be? And the good news is, it honestly doesn't matter much. The crucial thing is just to get started. Overcome that initial hump. Another key piece of advice you hear is, don't use categories, use tags instead. Now, tags are super useful for flexible organization, definitely, but it's worth noting that some tagging habits, if you're not careful, can actually get in the way later on. Especially things like using double hashes. Those aren't just regular tags. They often signify broader themes or entry points, almost like a table of contents within your system.
Okay, but hang on, there's a trap here, right? Something called the collector's fallacy. I am so guilty of this. My browser bookmarks, my read later list, it's endless. Our sources really stress this. Just bookmarking sites, saving PDFs, even reading and highlighting books, it's not enough.
Not at all.
You have to actively interpret your sources, digest the information, work with the material to truly learn it and get the full benefit. That active processing, that's the antidote to information overload, isn't it? Building a mental structure, not just a pile of stuff.
Precisely. That's where the knowledge increase actually happens. You have to trust the process, the iterative digestion of ideas. And the Zettelkasten's impact, it goes way beyond just taking notes. It really influences how you engage with information. Let's talk reading. The barbell method of reading is a really smart strategy here. Think of it like this. For a complex paper vital to your work, you go deep. That's the risky, high-investment end of the barbell thorough reading. But for, say, a quick news piece, you skim quickly. Maybe pull out just one or two key Zettel notes. That's the low-risk, quick scan in.
Okay, so you tailor your reading effort.
Exactly. And the key is to read for the Zettelkasten. You're actively hunting for specific bits of info, arguments, connections you can extract. And it's crucial to take proper reading notes first, then get the stuff out of the book by creating your Zettel notes from those reading notes later.
Ah, so it's a two-step process that fights the collector's fallacy again.
Right. It forces that active processing. And, of course, keeping a bibliography is essential for tracking sources diligently.
Okay, so that's reading. How does this all help with the actual act of writing? Because that can feel like the hardest part sometimes. Well, the method provides amazing support for producing text. It almost makes writing feel less like starting from scratch and more like assembling things you already sort of figured out. It encourages you to make writing part of your identity. Schedule time for it. Build habits, like a daily writing practice. You can even track progress with metrics like word counts. The sources mention a Mac app, Word Counter, specifically for this.
Little nudges like that can really help build momentum.
Definitely. And when you start a project, you might use temporary buffer notes for initial ideas, then make an outline. And here's the cool part. You ease into writing by pasting relevant Zettel notes into the outline. You're essentially writing with pre-digested thoughts.
It lowers the barrier to getting started significantly.
Yeah, and there's advice to separate composing from editing, get into that flow state, and also the idea of publishing iteratively, maybe smaller pieces more often.
And ultimately, the reason the Zettelkasten improves thinking and writing so much is because its structure, this network of linked notes, actually mimics how our brains work. It encourages serendipity. You know that moment. You're searching for one specific thing, and suddenly, because of the links you made, your system shows you two or three other seemingly unrelated notes.
Ah, the unexpected connection.
Exactly. It sparks a whole new line of thought you wouldn't have had otherwise. It's like your own past self whispering a brilliant idea. It genuinely extends your mind and memory in surprising ways.
That serendipity aspect is really compelling. But, a lifelong Zettelkasten. And it sounds powerful, but maybe a bit overwhelming too. How does it scale as it grows, with new info constantly coming in? Our sources mention using temporary buffer notes to capture things quickly before you have time to properly integrate them. That's the main strategy.
That's part of it, yeah. Those buffer notes help manage the influx. But as the archive grows, something interesting happens. It naturally develops what the sources call layers of evidence. First, you'll see basic data description and patterns emerge from your notes. Then comes interpretation of those patterns. And finally, you reach a layer of synthesis, connecting broader ideas. And on top of that, you add structural layers through your links. There's the bottom layer, your individual content notes. Then a middle layer of structure notes. These act like mini outlines or hubs for specific topics, linking related Zettel together. And then a top layer of main structure notes and those special double hashtags we talked about, serving as major entry points or overarching themes for the whole system.
Right, okay. So what does this all boil down to for you, the listener? Why should you care? Well, it means you can potentially learn faster and much more deeply. This method combines good reading habits, gives you constant practice through writing those Zettel notes, and maybe most importantly, it helps you gain these incredible, often unexpected insights by forcing you to connect notes into your personal web of knowledge. It really is an engine for discovery.
And for those interested in the history, it all started with the German sociologist Niklas Luhmann. He famously used a physical card index system, actual paper slips, to write, over 70 books and hundreds of articles. It's legendary. There's still ongoing research into his original system by Johannes Schmidt, sometimes called the guardian of the Godfather's Zettelkasten. He studies Luhmann's actual archive. It's fascinating stuff.
Wow. So it has a solid academic background.
Absolutely. And regarding tools today, while the sources avoid specific commercial reviews now, they do mention a popular app called the Archive for Mac. But really, the system itself is tool agnostic. You can find vibrant communities online in their forums, for example, discussing how to implement it with all sorts of other software or even physical cards still.
And that wraps up our deep dive into the Zettelkasten method. It's clear it's much more than just a way to take notes, isn't it? It really is a dynamic, growing extension of your mind, something that helps you truly understand, synthesize, and even generate new information and ideas. It seems like it really could be that shortcut we talked about, a way to become genuinely well-informed and a powerful engine for producing your own work.
So here's something to think about. Consider how the simple act of making deliberate connections between seemingly unrelated bits of information in your own notes could do more than just organize what you know. How might it fundamentally change the way you think? What surprising, maybe even groundbreaking lines of inquiry could you stumble upon just by connecting your own thoughts in new ways? What might you uncover?